Right. So let's review our first output or formatted output in Python. So the first thing we discussed last time is use of what we call the module operator or mod operator. If you remember the calculations or mathematical operators, we use this symbol to get the remainder. So for example, you get 10, right? And then we have a mod and 2. So what this means is you divide 10 by 2 and you check the remainder, and remainder will be 0. Another example, we'll have 5 mod 3, which means you divide 5 by 3, the remainder is 2. So this symbol is the very first one. This is called module operator. And this module operator can be used for the formatting. And this is what we discussed last time. This is especially helpful when we work with the numbers, especially when you want to restrict number of decimal places or number of digits that you want to use to represent number. The syntax of this is we use a print, for example, and within brackets, we can have a string value where we can represent the formatting instruction, then the mod operator and the number that we want to format. And this is the simple format we can use. So the last time we discussed this particular example, where if you have, let's say, a variable A, where you have stored this particular number. Right. Now, simple print statement will print this number exactly as it is. But what we want to discuss is how to, format this depending the way you want. So the first thing we have discussed is in this formatting, we have to have a formatting string, then the module operator, and then the number. This is the format. And within this string, we have to tell what format you need. For example, we have to use the mod operator again. If you put point to F, here the character F represents it as a floating point number. And with this decimal point, we say we won't restrict it to 2 decimal places. And if you press enter, now you will notice the number is restricted to 2 decimal places. So when you want restricted, what happens? You have to discard the rest. But when you are discarding, it will round it off, right? For example, you have 5 and 6. And then after that, you have 7. Because of that, you add 1 to this, and you will get 1234.57. Now, similar to this, we discuss if you want to increase the number of decimal places, just change the number and it will adjust the number of decimal places. Right. Then we discuss if you have a number before this decimal point, which indicates how many digits you are going to use to represent the number. For example, if you take this and if you put 7 here, what it means, 7.2. Now you know that 0.2 is we are limiting the number to decimal places. The number 7 is used to tell how many digits you are going to allocate. So for example, if you count number of digits allocated to this number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And to understand this, you can increase this. For example, I can put 12 and see what happens. You will have some empty spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in this way, you can adjust how the number represented. And same time, if you want some additional text with this formatting, that can be put inside this string value. For example, if you are going to say that this is price in rupees, you can notice that I have included price rupees also inside the string value. And this is how it will format it. Now you will see the number. Before the number, you will have price rupees. So whatever you want to include it together with the formatting, you can include within the string value. Right. Last one. If you have multiple values, same format goes in. You have a string to format it and then mod operator. You can have multiple values, but we have put brackets. So I'm going to use A and then 3.14159 as the second value. So this is the formatting you have to use. You have to comma separate them. You have to put inside the brackets. Now, since we have two numbers, we have to tell how exactly we want to represent. So I will take first number A and I will say that, okay, I need to restrict into two decimal places. And then let's say I will type N, which will display N within this. As the second number, I will say, okay, I need to restrict into just one decimal place. So if you put in this form and if you press enter, you will now notice that the two numbers are formatted. First number we limit with two decimal places. Second number we limit with one decimal place. Okay, so with that, I think we have discussed enough you to think about. But if in case, if you think about this F, you can use D for decimal, meaning whole numbers. You can use S to represent string value. So depending on your requirement, we can use various different characters here. But generally, this F we use commonly if you want to limit the number of decimal places. And that's the exact reason why I have used it. Okay, any questions? Okay, Vibhu asked, what is F in the syntax? That is to say that it's a floating point number. Floating point number means it's a number with decimal point. Similar to that, there are other characters also could come in. So since Vibhu asked this, so let's say that I want to tell something like this, print. Let's say this particular thing is string value. So you can put like the S, right? For example, let's say like this, hello. I will put a comma and then the string module operator, I will put S. Now this S representing a string value, right? And then the particular value, I will say, okay, somewhere. Now, can you guess what is the outcome of this? Any guesses for this? Okay, so what we have discussed about is how we can format an output using string module operator. And there are a couple of questions what these characters are, F, D, and S. I explained. S is usually we can use to represent as strings. D is we call the decimal format, and F is we can say it's a fixed point, or you can say floating point, right? And depend on your requirements, you have to decide whether you are going to use F or D or S. Okay, right? So my recommendation is you should search more about this. Right. Unfortunately, we are going to look at two more formatting instructions. And if you ask me why you have to learn all these, actually you don't have to. But over the years, Python actually changed how things can be represented. So initially they have proposed our previous technique where we have used string module operator. Then they have later proposed a format function. So this is the second method how we can format things. So let me explain this. Right. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to use the same A like earlier. And we already discussed printing A would print the number exactly like this. Okay, so what we are going to discuss in this particular case is formatted output, but using format method, right? And this is the syntax. Syntax means the style of use. So we have a string and dot, we have a format. And within the format, we have the number. So it will be like this. And how we are going to represent the number, we have to put inside this. And in this particular representation, we are using curly bracket, right? And inside this one, there are two parts. For the time being, I'm going to discuss only one part. We will put a colon and we can put a letter like this. So now you know the what F stand for. I told you it's a floating point number or fixed point number. Right. Now, if you want to limit to 2 decimal points, that also we know 0.2f will restrict into 2 decimal places. And if you want to like allocate how many digits that you want to allocate, that also you can put it like this, right? And if you want to put extra information, and you can put outside of this, yes. So within the string, but outside of the curly bracket, if you put it, it will print the way you want. Okay, any questions? Okay, so first of all, let me explain from the beginning. Now, what we are learning here is how to format anything the way you want, right? So I'm actually selected numbers because in number formatting is something is very complex. So that's why I have selected numbers. So originally my number, you can see we have 5 decimal places. But when you are going to represent actual numbers, we don't need 5 decimal places. So to do that, we have to follow some formatting, right? So the formatting that we are going to discuss now, you put the formatting as a string, and then we have a format method, and we put the number inside. This is the formatting that we are going to discuss. And then within the string, we have to tell how exactly we want the number. So in this format, we are using curly bracket, and then we have a colon. So colon, you have 2 parts, but right now we are going to learn only one. So if you just put a F, you take the number, that is A, you are trying to representing as a floating point number. So number with decimal points. From our previous knowledge, we know if you put 0.2 before F, what happens is the same formatting we have discussed earlier, which will limit the number of decimal places. So as soon as we put decimal point 0.2, it tells Python that, okay, we want to restrict number of decimal places to 2 places. Third one, if you put a number before the decimal point, we discussed this earlier as well. This number, in my case, number 12, tells us how many digits we are going to allocate. So number 12 says that we are allocating 12 digits to represent the number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then after that, what we say is we are limited to 2 decimal places. So I hope you understand now how exactly number representation work. Ahmad again asks why F. It's like this, Ahmad. These single character tells Python what formatting you need. For example, F, I told you, stand for floating point number. Floating point or fixed point means that you have a number with decimal places. That's why we can limit it. If you put S, you are going to represent as a string value. So in a string, you cannot restrict number of decimal places. If you put D, it represents a decimal number, which means an integer value, which you don't have a decimal point at all. So since Ahmed asked the question again, if I put F only, the output looks like this. Just F will indicate that it's number with the decimal points. If you put D, sorry, that's a mistake. You cannot use D in this formatting, unfortunately. But you can use S, I guess. Okay, so S also not working in this one. So don't confuse it here. Because in format method, they allowed only, if I'm remember correct, F only. Whereas in our previous one, both D and S were. So don't confuse with what we have discussed earlier. F, as I told you again, since I have got error message, let me explain. So F is float, you can see here, because the number is float. That's why you will see value error. So if you put 0.2, which we have discussed early, will limit the number of decimal places to 2 places. And then if you put number before the decimal point, will allocate total number of digits. Right. So what you need to do is you have to practice, all these formatting. I'm going to teach you one more. But before that, let me complete this one. I'm assuming that majority of you can understand this now. Yes, we have A, print A, we have this number. But when we are putting this formatting, what we request Python, in this particular case, what we ask Python is, okay, limit the number of decimal places to 2, right? So that we have already discussed. Then, if you want extra information within the string, you can come outside and type. For example, you can say price. You can see price will appear together with the formatting. And if you say price rupees, right. There was another question in the chat. I will see like colleagues are helping each other. Right. I want you to, I need your careful attention because this part is very careful. You have to understand because if you remember my formatting, there are 2 parts. Right. So there are two parts here which I have not described. Can I have your attention here? So you can see within curly brackets, I have two parts. We have a format that we already know now. There's something called index, which I'm going to explain now, right? So I need your attention for this one. Right. So I'm going back to Python shell again. So when you want to represent multiple values, I will repeat, when you refer multiple values, right? Okay, so let me explain what are the multiple values. So let me have like this, print. Okay, we will have string dot format. I'm going to have two values, A and then okay. So I have two values, right? Yes, agree. Since I have two values, I need to have two brackets. Yes, to format the two numbers, right? Okay. So let me put the first number, I'm going to limit to 2 decimal places. Second number, I'm going to have 1 decimal place. Agree? So if you press enter, okay. Again, I forgot to type colon here. Sorry about that. Right? Then if I type like this, you can notice that we have first number will restrict to 2 decimal places. Second number will restrict to 1 decimal place. In my slide, we have a text and which will display between. Now you understand. Whatever you type will be displayed exactly as it is. What is in the curly bracket will reflect the number formatting, right? Hope you got that clear. Is it clear to you? First, are we clear up to this point? We have two numbers. You see comma separate within the format. And then within the string, we have two curly brackets. First curly bracket, we will say 2 decimal places. Second one, we say 1 decimal place. Okay, good. Now let me explain the index part. Now in Python, we can name values based on the location. So our A is in the first place. This 1.34159 is in the second place, right? So in Python, we use an index. Python program start with index 0. So in Python, index 0 means the first number. And according to the Python, index 1 means the second number. So if I put it like this, no change, same outcome. Okay, I will repeat. Python index start with 0. So which means 0 means the first number, 1 means the second number. Okay, now let me ask a question. If I change this, what will happen? If I put 1 here, and if I put 0 here, so what will be the output? I want you to guess. I want to know how many of you are very, very smart. Start with the basics that we have discussed. Index can tell which number you are referring to, right? I told you 0 means first value. 1 means second value, right? So now what happens? Exactly. If you try that, now what happens? You take the second number, you limit to 2 decimal places. So that will be displayed first. Then you take the first number, give it to one decimal place. Hope you understand this. Yes? You take the second number, limit to two decimal places. You take the first number, limit to one decimal place. Simple logic, right? Okay, this is exactly what they have done with the second formatting. Okay, are we clear up to now? Okay, let me again brief on what we discussed. Previous technique, we have a string, module operator, and number. And we discuss some of the ideas how we format it. Second one, we will have a string again, dot format and the number. And within the string, whatever the formats, we can have two parts. You can have an index, you can have a format. And unless we have more than one value, you don't need this index. So that's why we didn't discuss it here. Because all these cases, you could have put 0, but there's no point. If you have more than one value, then it will be very useful. Depending on the way you want, you can switch the indexes. Okay, right, good. Having said that, let me discuss the last one. Are we ready for the last one? Remember, we have a quiz today, and I'm going to see how many of you can actually understood these concepts. Okay, right, ready. And I have posted like your marks as well. Unfortunately, depend on how you entered your nickname, it might appear both marks or it might appear in single mark. Don't worry. Later on, we can change. Okay. Last one for today, meaning the last formatting instruction. Right. This is the newest or this is the latest way of representing or formatting output. So this is the latest way we should represent anything. Now, in this one, we call F strings, which means you have a F and a string value. So let me go back. It's like this. So anything that you want to represent, you represent as a F and a string like this. You got my point? Right. And within that, if you need anything to be represented, first of all, you type whatever the number you want to represent and the colon and then the format. Right? So if you put A and F, you might see this. If you put A and 0.2, it will be limited to two decimal places. If you put like this and a 12, you see it allocated 12 digits to represent the number. And if you want to have some values with this, you can include within F. It's called, Vibu asked what is F in the start. In this F means formatted. It means formatted strings. F strings in Python is to normally to say the formatted strings. So ideally, F string is, they have introduced in the later version of Python, in Python 3.6. So what F string stand for? Formatted the string. So that's what it says. So nothing to do with what we have discussed earlier, right? So don't confuse with that F. Okay, so having said that, we can discuss a couple of ideas how we could use this, right? So I think now it is clear for you how we have used F here. So we have F, and this is the number, and this is the formatting, right? So this is how we will use. And then let's say if you need multiple values, okay, print F string, and this is like this. If you have multiple values, same like early, in this particular case, you have to have the number and then the format. So here also number and then the format. So hope you understand this. Right. Uh, Again, let me, since there are some questions you ask why you need this formatting, let me explain a bit. Sometimes you need this when you are using or when you are getting values. Now, for example, let me say this value, right? This is a value, right? So A, we had some value. And what we said was print F, and then we will say A, and then we will say, okay, the formatting that you need. This is the formatting we have used. And if you put anything around this, okay, for example, the price is, it'll print as it is. So make a note of this, how you can represent things. For example, if I say my name is Sampar, right? And if I say F, hello, and if I put name, any guesses? What might happen? Any guesses? This is how actually we can represent string values. You don't have to put it in the format, but within brackets, you can have that value. So same thing can go early as well. So for example, we can say print F, the price is, I could have said A, yes, and it will print as it is. So make a note of this. This is what we are going to continually use in coming sessions, okay? Although we have learned previous two techniques, we have learned three techniques altogether, but this is what we are going to continue to use, okay? So make a note of this, and I want you to, try examples and get familiar with this one. Okay. Okay then. So this is what we call F strings, I told you. And this is what we call Pythonian way of representing things. Okay, so having said that, now I would like to practice this, right? I want to practice this, okay? Now to practice this one, yes, this is the format you should use, although we learned previous ones, and this is the recent version. This is what you should practice. And this is what you see latest, writing. If you see previous format, then they are quite old, right? I'm not going to say that that's bad, but this is the recent one and we should practice this one. So having said that, let's start doing a simple exercise then. Right. This is our first exercise, first program that we are going to develop, right? We are going to develop our first program. And let me explain how this should work. This simple Python program should get person's name and date of birth, and it should print the last line with person's name and date of birth in this exact format. So in this example, we are going to discuss how we can develop similar program. So this is how it should work. First, it should ask person's first name. Then user can enter person's first name. Then you should ask last name. Then you enter last name. Then you are going to request date of birth. Then you request month. User provide month. You request date. User enters date. Then you request year. Then user enters year. And finally, your program should display everything together with person's name and date of birth. Are we clear about what you are supposed to do? Any questions on this? Okay, good. Now my question, I need you to answer. How many input functions you need to implement this program? How many input functions you need? Can you check? Yes, you need 5, right? Some says 3. Okay. Is it 3 or is it 5? How many inputs you are asking? You are asking first name, yes? First one. You are asking last name. Yes, you are asking first name. One input. You ask the last name. Another input. Then month, it's separate in this particular list. Otherwise, I know you can ask in single line, but the program is designed such a way that it asks month, date, and year. How many inputs? Okay, you need 5 inputs. Good. How many outputs, which means how many print statements you need for this program? How many print statements? Okay, so you need to print this one. 1. Anything else? Anything else? What about this one? You have to print this line as well, right? You have to print this line as well. Enter your date of birth. It's just printing. You are not getting anything from the user. So it's a print, okay? So we need five input statements and 2 print. Yes, agreed? Okay, good. Now let's start. Now, when you're a beginner, you have to start little by little, right? Don't try to develop everything except you are an experienced programmer. So we are developing system iteratively. Likewise, we are developing programs iteratively. If you can figure it out one shot, it's good. Otherwise, don't worry. Everybody, even myself, we start line by line, right? That's how we are going to start. So I'm going to go to shell again. And I'm going to open up a new file because I need a file. I want to write it as a script, right? So I'm going to put into 2 sides, right? Okay, so you can see here what we are going to ask. Let me put this side because it's easier for me to develop. Already I noticed that some of you have already done this. 115, you have already shared your answer. Why not you are using F strings? I told you that is what I expect you to do. This is perfectly all right. But think about use of, formatted output. Okay, others. The first one. We have to get the first name, right? So I'm going to use input. And then we know whatever we want to print it to the user, we have to type inside here. So I have to say, enter your first name. Right? Yes. And then we know that we have to store in a variable. So I'm going to say, you can type first name if you want. I'm going to make it shorter. I will say F name. Is it okay? Right. Okay. So I put F name. So whatever user enters here will be displayed as F name. So I'm going to say print F name. Is this okay? So let me save this file. Save. So I'm going to go inside my code folder. This is my program number 3. So I'm going to save it as program number 3, right? So I will save. Now let me run this. I'm going to run module. Okay, I will put it this side so that I can see. So it asks me to enter my first name. I'll type Sampath and it will just print Sampath, right? We have done the first part. Okay, so since it worked, I'm going to do the next one. Okay, what is the next one? I have to get the last name. So I'm going to say L name, input, enter your last name. Yes. Then I'm going to comma separate L name. Let me run module. I'm going to save it. It has my first name. Let me put Sampath. Then I'm going to say Digala. And it says Sampath Digala. Okay. Right. That's also okay. Third line, we know it's a print statement. Why I said print statement? There's no input. So therefore, I will say print enter your date of birth. So let me run this, run module. Okay. I will say Sampath. Then it does the color. It print the third line, enter your date of birth, and it will display the answer. We have got only the name only. Now we have to get month, day, and the year. So let's continue. Let's take month. I will say input. Okay, month. Right? So we can put month here. So let me run this, run module. So I will have name, first name, last name. Yes, you got it. Whatever we get from the user, we put as it is. Okay. Next, we'll take day, or let me say date, input day, and then I'm going to say comma day. Run module. Yes. Okay, now we have the name, last name, month, and the day. Okay, so it goes on like this. Right? Next, we'll take year as well. I will say year, input, year, and then that comes here, comma here. Right. So let me run. We have almost done. Okay, we get a name. Okay. So we are getting this message. But this is not what we expect, right? We want to say, okay, name was born on, and then we want to have this, right? So what should I do then? What should I do? Okay, I'm going to go back to the code again. So after first name and last name, we need a string in between. We have to say was born on. Yes, we can put it like this. This is perfectly all right, but remember, we discussed formatting string, right? You remember formatting string? So if you are using formatting string, I should have used like this. I have to say F as a string, right? And then all the variables we can put inside the bracket. So we have to say on a bracket, okay, we need a space, then again bracket, then was born on should be inside. Then we have to have month. Yes. Then date. Then year. So this is the formatting. And if you carefully look at exact representation, how we exactly need it, if you look at carefully. How do you need it? How exactly you need it? If you look at very carefully, you can see your first name, last name, was born on month, after date, we have comma, right? So you can put a comma here. After year, we have full stop, dot as well. So if you need to exactly represent this one, you can put commas and dots, and this will run very smoothly. So let's see how it works. Run module. Okay, now you can notice. Right, it does my name. I will say then my last name, month, date, and year. And you can notice it was exactly what we need. Okay, so let me give you the coding as well so that you can take down or you can try it on your computer so that now you should understand how exactly we can develop a small problem like this. So let's move on to the next one. So in next one, what happens, you will see now in two colors. First, our program should request the first number, a number from the user. And then it should request the second number. Once user provide these two numbers, you have to output a message similar to this. Assume that user enters 28 and 15. Your program should output the sum of the two numbers like this. Okay, let's start there. So let's work on the next problem. So I have already opened up a new window, and then I have typed get in the first number as F number, and I'm printing with F string. So let me save it. So I'm going to save it. Within the folder. So this is program number 4. So I will save it as program number 4. And let me run this. So it will ask me to enter a number. So I'll put the two numbers, right? What are the two numbers? We say 28, right? And it just print 20. So what is this next one? Second number. So I'm going to modify this. S number equals int input. If you ask me why int, because I want to convert it to a number. So I will say enter the second number. Okay. I will give you the complete coding after I finish this. And then I will put S number. Right. That's all right. But if you run this, what happens? If you run this, what happens? It just displays the two numbers, 28 and then 15. That's all, right? But we have some formatting. So let's put the formatting exactly the way we want. We have to say the sum of our first number. So I can type the sum of, okay, the first number, that is 28, plus right? Second number equals, okay. There are a couple of ways you can address this. Simply, you can do it separately and you can put the answer here. Like, for example, I can say total equals, I can add the number, F number plus S number. And then you can put it total here. That is one way to do that. Or else you can do the addition here itself. You can type F number plus S number here as well. Whatever the technique you use, both are correct. So there's nothing wrong. So let me run this, run module. You can notice that it's first number, I'm going to say 28. And second number, 15. And it says the sum of 28 plus 15 equals 43. Let me run one more time, run module. Let me put 20, put 30. It says 20 plus 30, it's 50. Interesting, isn't it? So it's just like you develop a simple calculator now, right? We develop a simple calculator. Okay, so let me share the whole code for those who wants to, check on. And this is my outcome, right? So you can make a note of this.